Okay, my name is Hope Beers.
My name's Ellie Cardona.
My name is Kyle Price, and our topic is year-round school, and we are open for questions.
All right, well, let's start out. Tell me a little bit about year-round school. That means you go to school all year, every day?
Typical system like for year-round school, there's around 200 days in
Great.
the school year. There's no more instructional days than there is in the traditional system. It's just
Okay.
they're more spread out. There are a couple of different systems. There's like 45-15, so you're in school for 45 days and then you're
Okay.
out for 15. One of the more popular ones is the 60-30 schedule. So there's 60 days of school, or is that the 90? There's the 60 days most popular. 60 days of school, 30 days off. So that's kind of what it looks like.
Which of those is the more preferred method that you found?
The 45-15 is actually the most popular.
Okay.
Why do you think that is?
Well, when I looked into it, one of the bigger problems that people have with year-round school is that like teachers and parents believe that there's too many breaks, that like there's never like a flowing cycle of school system. So like the lesser, smaller sections of breaks they think is better for the students because they don't have time to forget what they learned 2 weeks before.
So retention
Yeah,
is a
it's like
positive,
just kind of
okay, information retention. All right, why don't we have year-round school now? Why doesn't everybody do this?
There are there's every state except for Wyoming, Mississippi, Maine, New Hampshire, and Rhode Island do offer year-round school.
Okay.
And then there's a lot of other countries that offer it as well. It's just not popularized like in most public school systems because the transition into that would be really complicated and difficult because the way that like our American like traditional system is set up, we're so set in that way, and to switch over like nationwide would be a really big shift.
I guess my question is, why are we set in that way? Why do we do it the way we do it now?
So in, I think it was the 1900s, there was actually a survey that they believed that by the 20th century, all schools would be like moving into the year-round school kind of system because they believe it's more fitting for our like growing society.
Okay.
Because originally summer break was meant for people who lived in an agricultural like kind of setting because summer was off so the students could help their family on the farm is the original reason for summer break. So, I mean, most people believe we would go into a year-round thing, but it's kind of just stuck tradition to have a summer break off, and they just haven't implemented it.
Okay. So you guys don't work the farm in the summertime? No.
Year-round school actually it was created for immigrant children that moved to the U.S. so they can learn English because they'd be in school all the time.
Okay.
And so it's more popular in like the northern part. It's more popular like in states like California, and it's not as popular in the rural parts because like what Kyle said, it's meant for those who have farming, like the farming issues. And
So for the immigrant children, so you could immerse them more in a year-round, is that because of the lack of retention
Yeah.
for longer breaks that
It's
Kyle
like-
was talking
it's
about,
like
or?
English immersion, like how
Okay.
Bryan Station here has the Spanish immersion program.
Okay.
Year-round school is kind of like the English immersion of that for immigrant children who came here to the U.S. So
Oh.
they would just be fully immersed in the English language and they could learn.
Do any of y'all have peers or friends that are a part of a year-round school?
Oh, not year-round school, but I have a friend from Bryan Station who's part of the Spanish immersion system going on there. And I was talking to him about it, and he actually thinks it would be a lot better to have a year-round type of school system for that because Spanish immersion is like you have to speak in Spanish, you kind of like do everything at school in Spanish. And he says summer break, he actually forgets like a lot of it that he would probably retain if he had smaller breaks.
I have a friend from Australia most of their schools are the year-round schedule. And because she has most of her family is here in the States, if she were in a traditional setting, she'd only get to be here in the summer to be with her family. So the year-round schedule allows her to come to the States 4 or 5 times a year to be with family. And she really likes the system because of that.
You guys in favor of year-round schooling individually? Like you personally, if we had to make you choose and you got to set how LCA was going to have its school schedule, would you say yes or no to year-round schooling here?
I'm undecided on that part. I think both have like their pros and cons.
Ellie?
I'm in the same boat as Hope, but I would lean more towards, yes, I do want year-round school, but I'm so used to the school system. I mean, all of us are. So I think the transition would be really hard, but I do like the idea of it.
So if it came in and they said, hey, next year we're doing year-round school, you wouldn't be heartbroken, you wouldn't be overly joyed. It could you could work on it either way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kyle?
Yeah, I would probably lean more towards year-round school because, I mean, near the end of summer break, I get pretty bored.
Okay.
It's always been a thing, so run out of things to do.
And are there other things besides, going to the pool and hanging out with your friends that students could do to be productive during their summer breaks?
I'm sure people could take. I think if like universities or schools offer classes like over the summer, just like basic classes that would go over subjects or topics that we learn here in school. Like I think a huge thing is language, like our foreign language programs. I think if they offered like basic foreign language programs over the summer to just like keep us refreshed, and just for those who want to go into that field more, we're really serious about it, I think that'd be really beneficial. And things like math skills for those who aren't that good at math, just kind of like staying refreshed, I think that'd be really beneficial.
Do you think it'd be hard for those students that do come from a rural background that are that growing up on a farm, or those that are even from the suburbs or the city that have a part-time job that they want to carry out in the summertime, and then now you're kind of breaking up that opportunity for them to earn a wage or get a head start on college finances, et cetera?
That actually is an issue with year-round schooling. A lot of businesses and companies don't like year-round schooling because it does interrupt keeping constant employees, but then some do like it because it creates competition, and so they like having people fighting for them and seeing who they can bring in and just kind of like fighting for employees. But it is really difficult because, like you said, a lot of kids want to save up for like cars or for college and help support their families. So it's really hard to have a job when you do year-round school because it's so sporadic.
So we've talked about if you eliminate the long summer break, the impact that could have on businesses, certainly on student employment. Do you see any problem for parents, like say your parents, if you guys didn't have a long summer break but you had a couple of weeks off every month or month and a half, 2 months? I'm the father of 2 small children. What logistical issues could that then entail?
So the system, there's 2 different ways that the year-round system would be set up. There's a single track, which is every student you're in for 4 weeks and then you're out, or whatever, however they set the system up. Where there's multi-track, so you have so many students in the system at this time, then they have a break, and during that break, these students are in school. So a problem that could come with the multi-track system is parents have kids in different systems, so they want to go on vacation with this kid's in school, and then when this kid's on break, so that causes problems trying to plan either vacation times or extracurricular activities are also another hard thing to fit into there, because you can't have really seasonal sports because you're in school half the time not.
And it's interesting because multi-track is actually the most popular track to go by because since it has students rotating, it allows there to be higher enrollment and to use up the school buildings. So it can hold more students. A building can hold more students because they have cycles of students going through it because everyone's on a different schedule. So it allows for higher enrollment.
So the building can't hold more people. You're just putting different groups of people in at different times, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
I actually went to elementary school in a system like that. And I was interested in your comment about that parents having students in different tracks, because the way that our system was set up is that your track was determined by your home address. So whether you were in elementary school, middle school, or high school, if you were in this particular zone, ours were color-coded, then at all times you would have the same schedule. So I'm curious on your research for multi-track, how, where you have that people being on different tracks, how do they divide them up? Divide the students into different tracks?
I didn't find anything about how they divide each district up, but some of the articles I read, there were parents who had their high school kid and an elementary kid in different tracks, because if they're in 2 different schools, there's a high school that does year-round and then a different elementary school that does year-round. They weren't in sync.
Right, and I just that wasn't my experience from when I lived through it. So I was just curious if you had found out, why that would be. That seems like that seems like an administrative issue that could be dealt with at the school board level.
That is kind of interesting, but there's also been cases how students or parents who teach at certain school systems, they will be on a year-round schedule, but their children will be on a different block for that. So their children will be on vacation when they're teaching in school. So actually, the teachers actually have to pay for like child service for that or child care for that.
Well, don't you run into that here if you have a
Yeah.
teacher, you teach in Jessamine County and they don't have the same, schedule? I mean, that doesn't seem like that would be a problem unique to year-round schools. I think you would find that with traditional schools as well.
Another problem with the multi-track system having kids in school all the time, it's harder to keep facilities maintained because there's never a break long enough to work on maintenance and reconstruction and that sort of thing.
Renovate computer labs and wax floors and do all those things, yes.
Yes, exactly.
What do they do in those cases? Because I think it would be a nightmare for tech people, for custodians and maintenance doing especially larger projects. What do they do to overcome that? Or do they just see their facilities go downhill? And
Definitely one of
blow
the
it up?
cons for year-round school is it's a financial toll on the school system. And looking into it, it's about a 10% more, like it costs about 10% more to upkeep year-round school facilities than it does normal summer break facilities.
Kyle, you said earlier that if you didn't have that longer summer break, if you had smaller breaks, you would be less likely to lose the information that you've learned. You would retain more information. I'm trying to think back to when I was in school, which was many, many, many years ago. Not as long ago as Mr. Matthews, but many years ago. And I'm thinking that when Christmas break was coming around, which is a shorter break, right? It's very similar to some of the breaks that we're talking about here. I could think of, that week before Christmas break, you're kind of starting to check out a little bit. Maybe you're not paying quite as. And I got back from Christmas break, and I'd probably lost a lot of that information as well. So what if we're putting a Christmas break every month and a half or so, or every 2 months, whatever it is? Isn't there more propensity to lose more information just to do it in smaller doses rather than losing a smaller amount of information in a larger dose?
I feel like the system we're in right now, we all look forward to summer break. We know that's kind of like the end goal of the school year, but you have spring break, you have fall break, you have like Thanksgiving, you have Christmas break to look forward to. But in what it seems like our like summer system is like you want to make it to summer break, so when you get a break, you kind of have like that period like, oh, I'm getting this break that I normally never get because you're used to just a really long break. So you kind of like slack off a couple days before. But I feel like if it was in a year-round system, having it like standardized where you get this break at this time every couple months or something, you wouldn't get that feeling of, okay, I can like stop trying for a little bit because I have this unexpected break coming on.
Did you guys have any data that supports that year-round school does improve learning?
I actually do have some statistics on that. Interestingly enough, and this really surprised me, there is not a huge difference like academically when it comes to year-round schools. There was a research done in 1999 at the University of Minnesota, and it showed that 42% showed no positive impact, but 27% showed like a significant positive impact. It's just, and then I read another article where some scores only went up, like ACT and SAT scores, they only went up 1 or 2 points, and some grades went up like 4%. But it just, there's not a huge difference between their grades, which I personally don't understand.
What about the data that, do you see anything that said that the current system can hold that or can meet that expectation, or does it fall behind? Is like the current system, does it help kids get better every year?
I haven't found anything on that.
One of the biggest arguments between like the two type of school systems was year-round school always talks about something called summer slide, which is it's kind of the effect that students get as they don't go to school for a longer period of time than like year-round school gives. Like getting 2.5 months off, 3 months off, you'll forget a lot more than you would if you just had a week and a half or 2 weeks off.
You said you. Do you know who that you is? You're saying you get to the summer slide. Who is it that's losing?
I feel it can be student and even teachers alike, because teachers, I feel like
Let's concentrate on students. Do you know? I know the dad. So do you know? I'm just seeing if you do. And I'm going to get to the point. Do you know who it affects the most in that?
who would affect.
Yeah. What demographic of student does it affect the most?
One of the big benefits of using the read-on schedule is for kids in high-risk environments. So
What
children
is
who
that? Okay, very good.
have like low-income families,
Okay.
or children who are not living in great areas of towns or anything. So the year-round schedule keeps them off the streets more. It keeps them in a school system where they're maybe provided a meal every day. Whereas if they were home for 3 months during the summer, there could be the possibility that they're not getting a meal every day. So using the year-round schedule, it offers them like more academic opportunity to be in school, and that's really what also just keeps them away from being on the streets.
So as an academician, whatever, I focus on the learning. Does you know what the effect of learning is? All right, so let me tell you what I know, okay? I know that if you take two groups of students, both low income and high income, and you track them from August until May, they will grow at relatively the same rate of growth. It doesn't mean they both achieve at the same level, but they will grow at the same level. When they hit May and they go home, one of those groups drops. Which one do you think it is? You just identified them.
The low income.
Lower income. Higher income don't necessarily. They come back. There's a bigger gap now. Again, they progress at the same rate, but the gap doesn't close. That's on the current schedule. Would that be an argument for or against your topic of year-round school?
I feel like that would be an argument for endorsing year-round school a lot more in the school system.
It dramatically illustrates your summer slot, and that's one of the biggest data points when you talk about our current school system and only having or set up the way it is that summer break is very detrimental to students, especially those of lower incomes
So for instance,
or at risk.
you got Frankfurt High School that does year-round school. Did you all find any other schools, systems in Kentucky that do it?
Yes.
And if so, are they similar to Frankfurt, which does have a population
Meet that
that a chunk
criteria.
of them meet that criteria?
Yeah, so I actually didn't know about the Frankfurt one. That's really interesting. But I did know about two other schools. So Bardstown, Kentucky, they, like that whole county does year-round schooling. And then there is an elementary school in Louisville where they don't do year-round, but they do 4 days a week. And the school in Bardstown, so as I said before, the statistics aren't like as dramatic as I personally had expected them to be. Like attendance sub 1%, A's and B's on report cards are up 4%, D's and F's they have declined more than 2%, and then the ACT score they're up 1%. The amount of seniors who graduated went from 62 to 80, so that was pretty
That was
big.
significant.
In your research there, I was curious if they broke down by grade. So I was wondering if maybe there's not as big a jump in English scores or a humanities score, but I wonder if like foreign language or math and science specifically, whether those benefited better from the year-round system.
I would assume so, but I don't know.
That
for
your
sure.
statistics didn't break it down by
They did
subject.
not break it down, no.
All right, so you glossed over one that I find is also very fascinating. So what if the system, and this would just be an opinion type question, I don't know that you're going to allow data on this, but what if it were 4 days a week? Because if you take our 52 weeks out of the year, minus some, Christmas, Thanksgiving, July 4th, New Year's, that kind of stuff, you take those things out, typical normal breaks around those times, you can basically fit our schedule into a 4-day-a-week schedule. As soon-to-be graduates that have been through a system where you had 5 days a week for 9 months out of the year, how would you feel about that? You thinking you were going into next year, and then you just found out LCA is going to go to a 4-day-a-week schedule, but you're going to be in a year-round.
I mean, I would find that kind of interesting. I haven't been to college yet, but I know a lot of college students, they want to have that longer weekend where they'll try to get a Friday off and the Monday off.
You're
and have all
assuming it's a Friday.
Oh, yeah, okay. But I'm just, from a college perspective, I know that that's what a lot of people do.
Yeah.
So they have like that longer break off,
Sure.
or so they can work on more. I haven't been in that environment yet,
Yeah.
but I'm assuming it is academically better for them because a lot of people do it. I'm assuming it's for academics.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Ladies? What do y'all think? This is right. This is just an opinion question, but it's based on kind of some, what you've
So-
researched.
It would be 4 days a week and year round, or just 4 days a week?
Yeah, it'd be 4 days a week, year round, but with those breaks built in. Like I said, around 4th of July, Christmas, your regular holiday breaks to it. So like, if you had a week